Hi. Uh, Welcome to the Fix at 6 Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne. And one day, y'all, I'm gonna be so big time that I'll have a team of people to help me. But until we get to that point, y'all have to forgive me. I guess it's live because my bonus son told me before that it was not going out there live, and so have no idea what I had done. So humor me just a second and let me check and make sure, and then we'll get started. Yeah, so one of the groups I don't see it in, and that's all right because we're gonna go on and get started. How y'all doing? Listen, you can see I am in Tuskegee, thus the fish and all of that in my dad's office, and so hopefully everything is going to work out all right and the Wi-Fi is going to cooperate and all of that, because I feel like I have a word today. And when I say y'all, I got a lot of notes on this because, a lot of the content that I bring to you all is due to the work that I do with my clients. And so I look for confirmation in terms of threes. And so this week was certainly a week where I got that and dealt with some clients. Y'all, this is my dad. I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. Dad, I'm doing my podcast. What's up? Yes, we did. Yes, we are. Bye. Bye. Yeah, y'all, listen. My life should be a reality TV show because that's the kind of stuff that happens. I told my friend today, I just want to go somewhere where my phone will not ring, where I'm going to let everybody know I'm gone. I'm not answering the phone because my daddy didn't give a doggone about the fact that I was doing a podcast. He could care less. So anyway, now this is called life. So as I was saying, I look for confirmation in threes. And so this week I had some clients who all seem to have a theme. And a part of that theme was some issues that they are carrying from childhood. And two of them in particular, who are females, it stems from the relationships that they have with their mothers currently. And so I then got the third confirmation from someone else with regards to some issues and making some decisions and doubting the decisions that they're trying to make in terms of careers and that sort of thing. And so that's when I knew that endorsement, the real stamp of approval, was supposed to be the topic of conversation today. So as I said, you all, I have a lot of notes that I took. And what I'm going to recommend is that if you are listening to this, you are probably going to have to either watch this more than once, or you're going to probably have to take notes because I have a lot of information here. And so bear with me. Most of us feel insecure sometimes, but some people feel insecure most of the time. The kind of childhood, past traumas, recent experiences of failure or rejection, loneliness, social anxiety, negative beliefs about yourself, perfectionism, or having a critical parent or partner can all contribute to insecurity. Sometimes the inability to get the real stamp of approval, which is self-endorsement, is due to recent failures or rejection, lack of confidence because of social anxiety, and the need to be perfect. Recent events in our lives can greatly affect both our mood and the way we feel about ourselves. Research on happiness suggests that up to 40% of our happiness quotient is based on real life events. The biggest negative contributor to happiness is the ending of a relationship, followed by the death of a spouse, job loss, and negative health events, which influence our self-esteem, which failure and rejection then significantly can have an impact on how we feel about ourselves. So here are some tips to overcome failure that's based on rejection and insecurities. Number one, give yourself time to heal and adapt to your new normal. Number two, get out and engage with life. Follow your interests and your curiosity. Number three, reach out to friends and family for comfort. So I'm not talking about the ones that, further contribute to you feeling insecure. I'm talking about the friends and family members that make you feel better about yourself. Number four, get feedback from people you trust. Y'all, that part is important. People you trust. Number five, persevere and keep moving towards your goals. And number six, be willing to try a different strategy if necessary. Y'all, if it's not working, don't keep doing the same thing. Try something different. Many of us experience a lack of confidence in social situations like parties, family gatherings, interviews, and even dating. The fear of being evaluated by others can lead to feelings of anxiety and self-consciousness. Many individuals avoid social situations altogether because they experience anxiety when thinking about attending social events or feel self-conscious and uncomfortable when they actually attend them. Past experiences can feed a sense of not belonging, not feeling important or interesting, or just not being good enough. This type of insecurity is generally based on distorted feelings about yourself and about the extent to which others are evaluating you. So here are some tips to combat insecurity in social situations. Talk back to your inner critic. Remind yourself of all the reasons that you can be interesting and fun and a good friend or partner. Number two, prepare in advance. Think of some things you can talk about, current events, movies you've seen, hobbies, your job, or your family, things that you are knowledgeable and comfortable about talking about. Number three, avoiding social situations just makes things worse. So go to a party. Go on a date, even if you're nervous. Your anxiety should decrease once you get engaged with others. If not, the first or second time, then you have to just get used to showing up. And number four, set yourself a limited but realistic goal. This can be anything from talking to two new people or finding out more about one person and their work and their hobbies. Because y'all, a lot of times the hardest thing is the first step. And it's just coming outside of your comfort zone to do something different. Some of us have very high standards for everything we do. We want the highest grades, the best job, the perfect figure, the best decorated house or apartment, neat and polite kids, and the ideal partner. But unfortunately, life doesn't work that way, even when we work extra hard at it. If you are constantly disappointed and blaming yourself for being anything less than perfect, you will start to feel insecure and unworthy. Beating up on yourself and constantly worrying about not being good enough can lead to depression, anxiety, eating disorders, and chronic fatigue. So here are some tips to combat perfectionism. Try to evaluate yourself based on the effort that you put in, which is controllable, rather than on the outcome, which a lot of times is dependent on external factors. Think about how different it would be think about how much difference it would actually make if your work were 10% better. Would the time and energy spent in checking and rechecking or answering every email really be worth it? Is it going to make that much of a difference? Perfectionism is often based on all or nothing thinking. So try to find the gray areas. Stop being so black and white. Play in the gray. Is there a more compassionate or understanding way to view a situation? Are you taking your circumstances into account when you evaluate yourself? Is there something you learned or achieved even if the end result wasn't perfect. Perfectionists often have conditional self-esteem. They like themselves when they are on top and dislike themselves when things don't go their way. Can you learn to like yourself even when you are not doing well? Focus on inner qualities like your character, sincerity, your good values, rather than on just what grades you get, how much you get paid, and how many people like you. So, y'all, here's the thing about endorsement. Sometimes we have had so many people to speak negative things onto our lives that we accept what they are saying about us as truths. And so I deal with a lot of broken adults who are still in a place where they are trying to please their parents and they want the endorsement from their parents, but to the point where some of the individuals that I deal with are in very toxic and unhealthy relationships with people, and their need to please other people actually results in them being in situations where they are taking some abuse from these people that they're trying to please. Sometimes it's parents, sometimes it's partners, sometimes it's coworkers. And, you know, I can remember one of the things that my father instilled in me is that no matter how hard you work, you're not going to please everybody. Somebody at some point is going to be disappointed with your effort. And so instead of trying to evaluate and measure who you are based on who other people say that you are, why not start with you? Why not start by looking at the man in the mirror? Because you are the best judge of how well you are doing. And y'all, when I say to you that, you know, a couple of the clients that I am working with are truly struggling, and what they are dealing with is some verbal abuse, some emotional abuse, and they literally are experiencing emotional and physical and mental wellness issues because they can't seem to figure out how to break away from people who are abusing them. Because a lot of times you don't see the behaviors as abusive. But I'm here to tell you, if it does not feel good to you, it makes you feel bad more often than it makes you feel good. It doesn't have to be physical abuse that somebody is putting onto you, because verbal abuse and emotional abuse are even more damaging, because a lot of times scars can heal, and the emotional wounds that are inflicted on us by other people are hard to heal. So I need you to start by looking at the man in the mirror. If you feel like you are being your best, then the endorsement that you truly need is the one that you give yourself. You are the stamp of approval. It doesn't come from everybody else, because you can spend longer hours on your job. You can avoid taking lunch breaks. You can work harder, outdo everybody, and all these things, and still not be the person that they look at for the promotion. You can do all these things inside of a relationship in order, and I'm talking about a romantic relationship now. You can do all these things where you're pouring in, and filling up somebody else's cup, and they still don't choose you. Because if it don't fit, it just don't fit. And so too often we look at ourselves in a very, very critical way. We get inside of our heads and we are not critically friendly to ourselves, but we are critics of ourselves. And so we have to be at a point where we start to assess ourselves in a way that is a lot more caring, nurturing of who you are. That's what self-care is, y'all. And so it's not using words towards yourself to put yourself down. It's not looking at yourself with eyes of disgust disappointment. It is being able to look at yourself and all the possibilities. It's being able to look at yourself with eyes of hope and optimism, so that everything it is that you say you want to achieve, you can achieve. Because I constantly remind you all that we manifest in the negative and in the positive. And so in order for you to get to a place where you really, really feel good about who it is that you are, it's got to start with you. And for a lot of adults, if you have not dealt with some of the negative talk that was placed onto you as a child, you have to get to a place of healing. And I encourage you to get with a professional that can help you work through that process, because y'all, it can be very, very hard to start to uncover and unearth some of the very negative and hurtful things that have been said to you and done to you, that for a lot of people, you accept it because you didn't know how to deflect it. So the time has come for us to start living our best lives by becoming our best selves. And that means you got to start with the person that you go to bed with and get up with every single day. And that's you. And so that doesn't mean that you're perfect. It means that you have to take a realistic look at who it is that you are. And you have to determine what are the things about you that you need to change so that it makes you an even better version of you. Y'all, there's room for improvement for all of us every single day. And you have to continue to surround yourself with people that bring light and love into your life. And a lot of times that's difficult when the people who are up close and personal are people that you don't want to just totally cut off. Because in the case of, a few of my clients, they're dealing with some parents who are being very emotionally and verbally abusive to them. And one in particular is dealing with a mental illness. That doesn't make it any easier for that adult child that has to take that lashing from that parent via text messages, via phone calls, and it becomes a challenge to say, oh, I'm cutting you off because you're not going to keep coming at me like this. I know that that's a big step. I remember when I had a 16-year-old client who made the decision that she was going to cut off the relationship that she had with her mother. She made the decision to stop dealing with her mother. She was already living with her paternal grandmother. That was her guardian. And the only reason she maintained contact with her mom was because she had a 3-year-old brother, and she did not want to miss out on being a part of his life. But the verbal abuse and attacks that this baby would get from her mother were destroying her. And at 16 years old, she had been in therapy with me for probably about 7-8 months. And when she turned 16, she told me, she said, that's it. She said, I don't want anything else to do with my mother. And I said, really? She said, it's too hard. She said, the things that she says to me don't even apply to me. But she makes me look at myself differently. She makes me feel like I'm not going to be anything. She makes me feel like I'm a failure. She makes me feel like no matter how hard I work and how good I am, it's never enough, and nobody ever is going to see me as a success because she only sees me as a failure. And I just thought, for a baby at 16 years old to be able to make that decision and stick by it. And so her biggest concern was her little brother. And she said, I don't want him to think I walked away from him. And my recommendation to her was write him letters. Write him letters on a regular basis and just keep them. Seal them, keep them in a box. I said, because this is going to come around full circle. And one day he's going to be looking for you. And you'll be able to present him with this box of letters that speak to exactly who you were in his life at different moments in his life. And so that young lady This was some years ago. She went on to college. She's successful, and she has a relationship with her brother because her mom suffers from mental illness. And I cannot stress to you all that when you have a family member that is dealing with a mental illness, as hard as you want to look at them as not having a mental illness, they do. And because they do, they can't be who you want them to be. They can only be who they are. And that's with everybody, y'all, across the board, mental illness or not. People can only be who they have the capacity to be and not who it is that you will them to be. So we have to do a better job of endorsing who it is that we are, not based on what we drive, where we live, what our bank account says, but by whatever standards you choose to measure yourself by. That has to become the stamp of approval on your life. So there it is. This was rocky. And I think that between the internet and the glitches and my daddy calling and all of that, I just hope and pray that it's a blessing to somebody, because when I say to you, I know that the information is important. I just feel like I was all over the place today too. So anyway, love you all so much and your support. And listen, on Monday, I need you to check me out at 8 o'clock in Couchversations with Dr. Adrienne. I have two very, very, very special guests for Mental Health Monday, and we're going to have a discussion about civil rights, justice, and equality for all. You don't want to miss this one. So see you Monday in Couchversations at 8 o'clock for Mental Health Monday. Love you all so much. Have a safe weekend, and go out and do good for somebody other than the people that say they love you, because doing something for somebody else that you don't really know is the true test of your character. So love you all. Bye.